Hello and welcome to Soul Alchemy with Ali. I am Ali. You might have heard my voice on this channel, but I am stepping into this new series, which I'm loosely calling Soul Alchemy with Ali, as I wanted to kind of bring you into the conversation, to bring you into the journey with me as I use this to share what I am experiencing, what I'm navigating, what is coming forward for me personally, and also what I'm seeing in my client sessions. Because what I have noticed is that when I'm feeling something and it's reflecting and showing up in client sessions, that there's usually a collective theme that is coming through. And it's really interesting to observe that, to share and talk about it, and to really get a sense of what's resonating and how we can help each other as we start to maybe broaden into more of a community style weaving and co-creating, because I don't necessarily have all of the puzzle pieces. And so I like to bring my puzzle pieces and hear what yours are as well. So I hope that this series invites you into that conversation, and please use the comments on the video to share anything that's resonating, anything that's coming forward for you, because I would love to connect and start to weave and co-create through that medium. With all that being said, before we dive into the conversation, I invite you to drop into your heart, to drop into your body, and connect to your presence, your I am, to open your pillar and field of discernment and truth, so that you may receive this in the way that you need to receive it, and you can take what resonates and leave what doesn't. This won't be for everyone, and this won't necessarily be for you at this time, but allow it to simply be in your field, in your awareness, and choose what feels right for you. I honor your discernment and your personal sovereignty, and I am here to empower you to step more fully into that. So please use your discernment. As I said, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Please leave your puzzle pieces, your reflections and shares in the comments on this video so that we may weave and co-create together. Now let's dive into the conversation. So my friends, welcome to the first video transmission in this series of Soul Alchemy with Ali. I wanted to just tap into a little bit of what I've been feeling in November 2025. Now, I know that when this video lands, it will be in the middle of November, or you may be receiving this outside of November 2025. So remember to trust your discernment, to trust your channel, your sovereignty, and allow yourself to feel into what might be here for you. Because while I timestamp this, as we know, energy and frequency and the experience transcends time and space. So this will meet you and find you where you need it. We have really been in the thick of 2025, in the 9-year that we know, the year of the snake. We know that this is pushing us really to our limits. And I don't know about you, but August and September were very intense. And in fact, I can feel that frequency coming forward again as I remember how intense it was for me to personally navigate. Then we sort of landed into October, and October was really tapping into that inner becoming. We'd sort of moved through these cycles of death and rebirth. And I will talk a little bit more in another video about that cycle, because that's become really present for me this year. And within my Temple of the Sacred Heart community membership, we've been walking that path together. And it was through that really sparked this idea to share myself in this way and share these videos, because this is kind of what we do in that space. And so if it is something that you are liking, loving, needing, wanting a community and sacred space and support as you walk the path, then I invite you to come and join us in the community membership. But I do want to share the premise of that cycle of death, the rebirth, and what that brought us to So what I'm really focusing on is what I'm feeling right now from October, where we started to move into that rebirth, move into that renewal energy of crossing the threshold, and that inner becoming was starting to be revealed. And so as we moved into November, and it's no mistake, right? We went from that 9 of September into the 10 or the 1 of October, and we now have November, the 2 ones. And so there is a little more anchoring with the 2 ones of this new identity, I guess, the new becoming. I don't really like the word identity, but the new becoming. And that is our presence. That is our presence, and that is the path that is now opening up to us because we've moved through that cycle. So the energetic tone of this month is really feeling about the stillness, the softness, but the strength within that. It is a soft strength, a quiet power. No performance, no proving, just that being, the returning to the simplicity of being, just the I am. And that is opening up what is the fourth and maybe final arc of that soul's journey through death and rebirth. It is the passage into embodiment, into living expression, and what I have come to know as embodied sovereign expression. So this takes that passage of embodiment into integration, into action, into living expression, to the being. So our remembrance becomes life itself, and your presence becomes the prayer, so to speak. It becomes the intention. And legacy moves from being an energy into form, where we bring that into form, integration into action. And so this is looking like choosing our most aligned path in daily life. And speaking our truth even when our voice may shake, hence why I'm here. This is what I'm doing. I'm speaking my truth. I'm answering the call to be in my most aligned path and share with you in this way. Living by our courageous heart flame. So this is what I'm drawing on in this moment to connect with you in this way. And it's no longer negotiating who you are. It's no longer shrinking to protect others' comfort. And it's no longer outsourcing our authority to external systems or narratives or others. We are really living as light, as love, as oneness embodied. So it's not about searching or seeking. It's not even about trying. It's about being. And in fact, we're moving past the becoming, whereas October was this, well, we're becoming, we're leaning into that inner becoming. Now it's about being. It's being who you already are. And where your legacy now starts to take shape, not as a plan, as an idea or something that you're seeking or something that's outside of you. But this is now within you. It is you, and it is you as you move through your world, or the world, as you move through your daily life. So your breath becomes that offering. Your presence is the transmission. And your choices now become the altar. And you are no longer seeking an initiation because you are the initiation. And what you might be witnessing with that, as I certainly have been, is things happen and weave almost instantaneously. So the experience comes forward. And our choices define what happens next. And it really is prompting us, it is showing us how quickly, when we choose something new, when we choose what is aligned, when we choose what our courageous heart is asking us to do, our truth, what the pillar of truth within us is calling us to do, how quickly we are seeing that come forward, that experience come forward and shift and move and expand and build this stabilization through our body and our field. And so it might feel, to start with, this might feel overwhelming. and it might feel a little destabilizing, but I'm bringing this into your awareness to help you tap into now more consciously that this is the moment. This is the moment of the integration to action of embodied sovereign expression, which you are now being. So you are stabilizing through these choices, through your breath, your presence, and your choices. You are stabilizing your body and your field to create the sustainability in the expansion, to create the sustainability for you to hold more, to be more, particularly with the light of your higher self, your oversoul, your sovereign divinity, your God self, your I am presence, bringing in that sovereign expression, bringing more of that in and creating the stability, the sustainability through the body and the field. So it's interesting because we're seeing, as I said, that movement. We have come from the 9, the fire. We stepped into 1 or 10 of October, and it started to feel a little bit more like we could feel that new. We could feel something shifting within. Now in November in the 11, and we are starting to get more of the foundation with the 2 1s. We're starting to feel okay. And the experiences are coming forward, but they're coming forward, remember, so that you can make a choice that is the most aligned for you and who you are becoming and who you are being. So letting go of seeking, of trying, of simply being and receiving. And as we move in, sneak peek, as we move into December with the 12, creating the sustainable, stable foundation for our movement into 2026, into our movement into 2026, because that is the year 1. That is the year 1. So new beginning, new beginning. And so I will talk more about the energy of the 12 and the 12-12 portal, which I'm already feeling is coming forward to really anchor, and again, a sneak peek, to create more of the stable foundation. For me, the 1 and the 2, or 12-12 or 12-22 or 2-2-2 have been quite a stable guide through my personal journey, my ascension journey, my soul expansion. And so it's really interesting for me to feel into that this year with more conscious awareness than I ever have before, and understanding too where the arc of that death and rebirth has taken us, because we, follow using those number sequences as I shared, we can see how it's naturally, the cycle is naturally there, and it is guiding us through this. And I know that for many of us in January, or even February, March, like I think a lot of people tune in to the start of the year being April. So I'm not necessarily connecting with this in that linear sense of, oh, well, 1st of January, it means we're into a new year, we're into that new, and let's move and let's go. Because that might, for you, take place somewhere in that first quarter of 2026. But what I want you to maybe feel into and start to move into awareness with is how you can use the momentum of that cycle. Because that is something this year that Spirit has really honed in for me. And I think within my Temple of the Sacred Heart community membership, it's really highlighted that, because we've been moving through cycles and honoring the cycles. And it is also really helping us and me, most importantly me, but it's what it wants to come through. It wants me to share is how we are able to lean into those cycles and allow us to observe the fact that, or witness the cycle, witness where we maybe are on that. One, to know that, oh, this is temporary, and we know that the cycle is always going to move. It's like the seasons moving, the weather changing, the leaves falling from the trees, the flowers blooming and then dropping their petals. Like that is a constant. The evolution and the change is a constant. And so what we're really reharmonizing and bringing coherence to is our understanding in this body with our mind, our brain, our subconscious, that we are able to move into that change with more ease, peace, with more ease and peace, with more comfort, because it is just a natural cycle that flows and that moves. And we witness it in nature all of the time. As women, we witness it in our bodies with a hormonal cycle. Like, there is cycles to everything. And if we can allow ourselves to let go of the resistance, to surrender, to even just sink into the fact of, okay, I'm in the death phase, or I'm in an integration phase, I'm in a rest phase, whatever it might be. And even then knowing too, actually, Spirit is saying, remember too, when it's time to take action, because sometimes we miss that too, because we get so caught in the cycle, we miss that movement of crossing the threshold, of stepping into the rebirth, of this moment of bringing the embodied sovereign expression forward. So this is an invitation just to witness that cycle, to begin to get comfortable with this idea that there is a cyclic flow, and that you will be able to navigate that. You'll be able to lean into that with the body, with your heart, with your I am presence, rather than trying and seeking from the mind. So that's another strong theme this year, of coming from the mind to the heart, bringing coherence from mind to heart, because we are so programmed, and our subconscious leads so much and drives so much. But if we can bring ourselves to our presence, and you will know from my transmissions, and if you follow me on social media, I talk a lot about our presence, being in our presence, in the body, in the present, and how important that is, because that's where we start to build that foundation. And this is part of our divine legacy. This is kind of like the base of that. And from there, you're creating that stable foundation to build off, to step out from. And so knowing that, you see, you can come into those cycles, or the periods of shift and evolution and shedding, the death, the transformation is always occurring, because we are cyclic beings and we are here to evolve, which means, spoiler alert, we're always going to be changing. We're always going to be changing. So our relationship to that needs to change. It needs to change to allow us to find our ease, to find our sovereignty, to find the peace in that, and to start to be able to enjoy life and to feel and see the pleasure of life, rather than seeing how hard it is. That is something that my clients, many of my clients will say to me, and a lot of conversations with people, even those not often super spiritual, but the idea that we connect to, or the belief that we connect to, that life is hard, life is a struggle. And some of that comes ancestrally, and I've done a lot of work with that for myself and with clients and the collective heart. But it's also changing the way that we use our words. It's changing the way we relate to things. And what if we could stop seeing life as hard, as challenging, as this death and rebirth cycle as the end of the world, and allowing it to simply be part of the process. It is just a stage, it is temporary, and it will always move, it will always shift and show us what is really needing to be revealed, what is calling to be revealed, because it is going to reveal more of who we are. And I use this because my beautiful guides that are connected to the Temple of the Sacred Heart community bring this through the Star Mothers. The Star Mothers bring through everything in relation to flowers, and I love that. But they shared with me that, you know, when you trim, or you should be trimming, you know, cutting off the flowers at the end of the season, you know, deadheading them. I'm not a gardener, so I hope I've got that term right. But they were like, you then trim the bush. You need to trim the bush or the plant, Because for the next season, you want it to thrive and flourish. You want it to expand and grow and bring more flowers. And so you're not just, cutting off the old dead flower head. You're actually trimming it. You're shaping it or thinning it out, creating spaciousness for it to bloom even more in its next cycle. And so the invitation was for us to see it this way, that we need to cut the old flowers off. We need to trim the branches or shape the bush a little bit to create the spaciousness for that continued expansion. So if you think about it that way, if we were able to do that, and we do by, working with emotional, mental beliefs and shifting patterns and choosing differently and just being aware and responsible, like we bring in that self-awareness, that self-responsibility and self-acceptance of who we are and what we're moving through, and that willingness to be different, to choose differently, to remember and to embody. That's naturally what we are doing. And so if in those tough moments we can see it that way of like, oh, I'm just trimming the branches here, I'm just creating more space in readiness for the expansion of the renewal, of the rebirth, of my embodiment here where I can bloom even more. Like how good does that feel to think about it in that way? Because the mind is going to take us down a pathway that says it's not safe to do that. And even though consciously we're like, well, we know it's not life or death, but that's not how our subconscious operates, does it? So if we can bring in this metaphor, we can see it happening. Maybe you actually get a rose bush or a plant and you trim that with the intention that that's what you're doing within, and bringing a sense of joy to that. A lightness, a gratitude, a blessing, because it's allowing you to evolve. It's allowing you to shed even more layers and to be more of who you truly are, to create that divine legacy that you came here to be, to create through your being. So I know that's a lot. I know that's a lot. For now, the key takeaways really in this month of November moving into December and the 12-12 is to try to let go of any seeking. And I say trying, and they're saying to me, you need to stop trying. So we are invited to release any trying, any seeking, and to allow just the freedom of space, of expansive space. To open the heart. To open the heart. They're showing me like opening the windows. You might do on a beautiful day and you open the windows and you can let the gentle breeze in, the sunshine in, that fresh air. You can hear the birds singing and it's just like a peaceful, beautiful experience. And they're saying, we invite you to allow your heart to open in this way. Open the windows and let that fresh air in. That new perspective. The spaciousness. Imagine you're saging out that space as well. And simply allowing yourself to receive. Taking a deep breath in with me now on that and breathing that out and through. So I would love to hear how that resonated for you, or what is coming up in the month of November, what your puzzle pieces are connecting to this. And of course, I am just sharing what's on my heart. So please take what resonates and leave what doesn't. And I look forward to continuing to connect with you through this series. It is such a joy and a pleasure to share. And I am honored to walk this path with you, to walk the way with you as we all remember together and become our highest embodied expression and remember ourselves as one. Until next time, Much love.